Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
The highest law enforcement officer in the county. Would that be a fair description?
That's correct.
You referenced that there are constitutional divisions amongst responsibilities between us and you. What branch of government do you operate under?
Mecklenburg County.
What branch of government do you operate under, Sheriff?
Constitution of the United States.
Correct. That is what establishes the branches of government. I'm asking which branch you fall under.
Mecklenburg County. I'm a duly sworn Mecklenburg County Sheriff. We answer to the people of Mecklenburg County.
Awkward.
This was not where I was anticipating getting stuck.
Contend.
Are you aware of how many branches of government there are?
No.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
For
Painful.
the sake of debate, I will move on and say there are three branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial. Of those three, which do you believe you fall under?
I believe I fall under the last one.
Oh.
Would you say it to me?
Judicial.
Okay. You are incorrect, sir. You fall under the executive.
Okay. That was painful. Hi, Jake. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm glad I can hear you guys.
I'm glad. I'm glad. So tonight we have on Jake. No, I mean, you're a friend, your family. We've had you on before. You've been doing the news for a long time. That's why you know a lot of things about a lot of things. Even this in North Carolina, did this news make the rounds up where you are?
No, but now there's a good clip to share. This is the problem with government hearings. Even when you look at it, it doesn't work the way you think it's going to work. I remember, like 20 years ago during the Gulf War, the Republicans who were controlling the Senate at the time invited this George Galloway, who was a real anti-Semitic, anti-American member of the parliament in Britain, to come. And they thought they were going to roast him over the coals because he was supporting Saddam Hussein. I mean, it was just outwardly doing that. And it just didn't go right for them. Like, he ended up getting a platform to lecture them. This, honestly, just make your points and move on. Stop trying to catch people in gotcha moments. It never works.
Well, it did work. In
an unintended way, yeah.
This is Mecklenburg County, where Irina Zaruska was murdered. This is a sheriff that doesn't cooperate with ICE, being brought in to the credit of the GOP, which Margot and I are critical of, but we have liked the oversight on this, into this hearing. And predictably and unfortunately, he plays the race card. So I'm going to put this up. This is doing a tremendous injustice to the victims in North Carolina and in his county that are Black.
Before we got here as Black sheriffs, the woke sheriffs, those sheriffs, compare me with other 99 sheriffs. I'm elected by the county that I'm in. Most of you all, or some of you all, could never be elected in my county, and I could never be elected in your county because your county has a different view than my county. So let's be honest with that.
True.
I am the elephant in the room, but I'm the proud elephant in the room, and I will always be the proud elephant in the room and the state.
Okay, if elephant means jackass, right on cue.
Jake, there's a part in here where I don't know if we have a clip of it, but Sheriff McFadden doesn't know the difference between contend and context. And he uses the wrong word many times in this hearing. And you know how some people will say irregardless and it just drives you crazy, or if there's a word like people on X were losing it. He doesn't know the difference. Like that was the big joke, aside from everything else he said.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's clear he's trying to deflect from something. By the way, he's wrong. A black Republican will get elected in a white Republican county every day of the week. That happens all the time.
Every time they run. And by the way, black Democrats can do a better job than he can, and he's running up against a couple of them. So this is not a race thing. I mean, look, I want everyone to understand too, when it comes to, like, a lot of us are rural in North Carolina, but in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, this isn't a crime fighting organization per se, right? He controls the jails. He serves court orders and warrants. So, it's different from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg police. But when he has these criminals in jail, he wants the illegals who have murdered people. He wants to release them. He will release them. He does not want to cooperate with ICE at all.
Yeah.
He has a 16% release rate, or hold rate, compared to some of the other sheriffs that have a much higher rate, 16%.
Yeah. Well, and he's also either oblivious to or just doesn't care. I say this all the time to folks. Who do you think these illegal aliens and criminals who happen to be minorities are killing and attacking 99% of the time? It ain't the white chicks. It ain't the white guys. That woman who got killed, the Ukrainian immigrant, just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
This is a war on their own people. Not, they don't come to Park Avenue and attack the people there. They get the people in Bensonhurst and in Bed-Stuy and in Soundview, the Bronx. That's New York neighborhoods, but I'm sure there's neighborhoods like that in North Carolina as well. It's an incredible, dodge and an attack on their own people. If you want to play the race game, I'll play it with you, and I'll beat you on that one too.
Oh yeah, as a white Jew, so that's I mean, both of us, we can do it, the best of it. But it's interesting because there is a rep named Carla Cunningham, who is a black woman who is in his district and served there. Margot
serves there.
No, serves there. Margot does not trust anyone that's not from North Carolina. So she really likes Carla. I'm going to play this clip. She likes Carla because she's from North Carolina, represents her people. But look, imagine this, Jake, went along with the Republicans on one vote. And that is to make this sheriff cooperate with ICE. That was it.
Good.
And the Democrats are trying to destroy her. The governor came out against her. They're running a primary candidate. I mean, they want her out. Two. Yeah, but one in particular, an
reverend lying freak.
Reverend. But let me play this clip where she's pointing out some horrible things that he's doing in his jail
studio, and I guess they rapping or something in there. And the family member of some of the victims that were murdered were very upset about that. Do you think that's appropriate to have a music studio for people to rap in that are in jail for murder or other felonies?
So let me put the content into better content. Every single one of us in here listens to music. Every single one of us in here take music into our lives. That's part of rehabilitation for us. I have directly spoke with that family member about that person being displayed as someone inside our detention center simply just making music.
Okay. There's so much in that.
He's got a lot of words he doesn't know. He meant to say, is it possible he meant to say recreation? Like there's recreation in jails, but I don't think rapping is part of the rehabilitation. I would think that maybe learning a skill and learning a trade is part of that. I'm okay with recreation, but yeah, I mean, it would probably be better if they were doing calisthenics or building birdhouses.
Make some license plate, damn it.
No, Sloan, they're making Christmas ornaments for the governor's Christmas tree.
Right, who's Jewish. Why does a Jew have a Christmas tree And why? Well, we call it a Hanukkah bush, to be honest with you. But why in the hell is it? Why are they making Christmas ornaments for him to hang on his tree? That is a Shonda.
Well, I don't know. If it's in the governor's mansion in the lobby for all the people, I guess it's okay.
No,
By the way, now you're reminding me. I have a really good friend I grew up with. His name is Elon Gold. He's an incredible stand-up comedian, and he has a whole bit about how, thank God, Jews don't have to have trees for Christmas, because then there would be 16 volumes of the rules about how you cut the tree down,
Oh
how you
yeah.
put the lights on, when you put it in the house, when you bring it out, whether it's a good tree or a bad tree,
Do
whether
you
it
need
has to be
a
a living
coaster?
tree.
Do you need
He
a
has a great
coaster?
bit.
Do
It's
you
a
need?
3-minute bit. Yeah, look it up on, use your search on an Elon Gold Christmas tree. You don't have to be religious, Christian, or Jewish to find it hilarious, but it helps. It helps.
Margot, you're in for it tonight because you've got us.
I can tell. You might as well move me to the other side. We could put him in the middle.
Yeah. So this would be funny if it weren't costing lives, and the cost of illegal immigrants and not only what they're doing to society, but with crimes is climbing. So I wanted to put one of your strengths, one thing I love you for is that you talk about polls, right? And we're heading up to the midterms. And this is I thought it was very good polling from Signal. We went over it last week because I saw something today, you guys, before I put this up. I don't know if you agree. I do kind of agree that people on X, on the platform, see immigration enforcement more favorably than those who watch cable news, than those who are on
You think?
Facebook. Yeah. And so, I mean, I want everybody to know this because a lot of politicos watch this show, a lot of activists. So let's keep it in the real world, right, of real voters. So this is what they thought. Overall, they have a favorable rating. I think it's possibly Trump's strongest issue. What do you think?
Well, I talked about a poll this morning. I'm really good friends with Scott Rasmussen, who founded Rasmussen Reports. By the way, he and his father also founded ESPN. He's a man of many talents. He sold Rasmussen Reports years ago. He's not affiliated with it anymore, but he has a new outfit called Neapolitan News Service. And he came out with a poll yesterday that showed that by a margin of 52% to 33%, voters prefer the Trump immigration policies to the Biden administration policies. Now, I think the real number should be a lot bigger than that. But that's still, in this day and age where people are just so divided, a 19-point lead on those policies is a big deal, especially after the last few weeks of the mainstream media and a bunch of these phonies, including a lot of Republicans, towing this incredibly dishonest line of, well, I'm against illegal immigration, but, ICE has gone a little too far lately, which is exactly the opposite of the truth. ICE is dealing with hundreds of thousands of encounters every day. And so far this year, we've only had 5 shootings. I'm trying to get my hand. 5 shootings. That's not bad. That's an incredible. I mean, any law enforcement agency would die for that kind of ratio of peaceful resolutions to not peaceful resolutions. And of course, in all 5 of those shootings, the people who got shot, it was their fault. They instigated the problem, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, Sloan and Margot, I can only think of one other armed force in the world that also gets slandered as being a butchering armed force, but also has an incredible record of restraint, despite the fact that they're going up against people who are trying to commit suicide in attacking them. I wonder what group that is. And by the way, they get smeared by the same people and the same lie. I want everybody watching, if you think that you have a couple of friends who are pretty well-minded and they're just a little upset about how ICE has gone too far, you need to tell them it's the exact opposite that's the truth, which is why they have to smear them with this lie. ICE is actually being incredibly restrained. It must be very, very frustrating for the left to see that ICE has not been killing people in custody, has not been deporting the wrong people.
Jake, officers have been killed, injured, shot at, finger chewed off, whatever the hell, run over. That has happened.
Right. So what can I tell you? It's an incredible record of law enforcement restraint, armed law enforcement restraint. It should be studied for how great and how moral and high ground they've been on an issue that is the high moral ground, because illegal immigration is slavery, and those protecting it and stopping it from being eradicated are just as bad as the slavers and the Confederates of the 1860s. They're the same. They must be the same people. They're descendants, I think. But
they're Democrats.
This is what's going on. Yeah, this is what's going on right now, and the polls show it. So I think we need to go more than just the polls. We need to get this message that I just reminded everyone of. No, the message of the smart message, that's the midwit message. The person trying to sound smart says things like illegal immigration is bad, but ICE needs to take it easy. No, that's what morons say. The smart thing is illegal immigration is bad, and how amazing is it that ICE has been so incredibly nonviolent in almost every encounter and has been so effective in getting the right people and getting them quickly. That's the narrative. And it's not even a
No,
partisan narrative. It's just the
the
truth.
message is go harder. Go harder.
Yeah.
Get them out
Yeah.
faster. Go harder. I don't want to see any more children get killed by drunk drivers that don't have driver's license from another country. Go harder.
Exactly. I agree.
We cover, I mean, I'm the raping of children and the murdering of North Carolinians is something we literally have to cover every week. And I keep saying, I'm tired of, like, I'm resentful of it. We have to do it. But why has it become so pedestrian that we're having to do it every week? I mean, we have to do it every week. Well, we've made a commitment to do it every week because we're not going to be quiet about it. But you know what I mean? I mean, Democrats want us to forget about that. We're not gonna.
Well, it's they have a couple of crazy, just on their face, laughable narratives. You know, the one they've been saying since Joe Biden at his last State of the Union address, where they make this point like, well, sure, there's some criminals that are illegal aliens, but they commit crime at a lower rate than native-born Americans, which is debatable. But the answer to that question is, so why should we be importing any net new murderers into this country? We don't have enough? You want to have more? And also, if you have a municipality like these sanctuary cities, or you have a government that says one of the laws that's on the books, we're just not going to follow. We don't agree with it. We're not going to get rid of it. We're not going to follow the democratic process and the legal process of removing that law. We're just going to ignore it. Well, if you have a municipality or a city or a state that says that, then that's what they're really saying is all of the law. All of the law is now null and void. You can't just say I'm only ignoring one. You ignore one, you ignore them all, and you've created an incredible magnet for all criminals, not just illegal aliens. All criminals are going to be like, oh, that city is telling me that no matter how violent and terrible an illegal alien is, they're not going to go after him. That might be a good place for me to go and commit a crime.
Show you guys. Hold on, I have to show you this. Did I just put this up here? Hold on. This really made me angry. Hold on, let's see. This pissed me off good. Cato just put this out. Immigrants use less welfare than native. I don't give a damn. A continental damn. I put out, listen, our motto in America, put up or get out. Put out or get out.
Anything above zero is using more than they need to. That's what I think.
Come here and be productive, contribute to our economy, and assimilate.
I saw your post earlier today, Sloan, about asking whatever happened to Cato. I got bad news for you. They've always been wacko over there. Cato Institute is the think tank that 40 years ago, when I was in DC, almost 40 years ago, when I was in DC as a summer intern, was trying to push this whole "we shouldn't have gotten involved in World War II" narrative. I mean, they've always been wacko over there. They don't believe the crap they're putting out themselves. They do it for attention. I don't know what but they're bonkers over there, Sloan. They've been bonkers for a long time.
Oh, okay. So it's sort of like the heritage wants to be them. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. All I know is that, you know, when they had great food and free beer at their evening events. You know, if you're a summer intern in DC and you ever pay for dinner, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, they always had these receptions. So I went to one and I'm like, okay, the beer is great, the food's good, and I was under 18, so I was really enjoying that. And then all of a sudden, some guy gets up there and is like, well, here's our new Cato book about how we shouldn't have gotten involved in World War II. And I'm like, what? What's going on?
But you were drunk by then, so it didn't actually matter.
No, I wish I could have said that, and I wish I could have said I hallucinated it, Sloan, but it was real. It was real.
All right, so I had a video that I was looking for. Pardon me, but you know, one of our faves, Scott Pressler, was in DC today to put pressure on Congress to pass the SAVE Act. So let's get this out of the way because, frankly, it's triggering me. And let me get this up here. So here's the gist of the SAVE Act. So for those of you who have not been paying attention to national issues, and I get it, because we have a lot in our own backyard and you're trying to work and put food on the table. Here's the basics of what this is trying to pass. So you guys, what's going on with this? Where are we?
We're very close. But I will say this. I think it's very interesting. I saw an interview with Elizabeth Warren, and she's like, if you got married and divorced, it's going to really be hard for you to be able to get an ID. Honey, you cannot fly in this country without real ID or a passport, which you have to use the same exact audit trail to get those. The way that they are trying to dilute the message, or deflect from it, is it really, it's an insulting moment to people's intelligence. I'll just say it.
Yeah, you talk about polls, Sloan. This has been the message from the Democrats for a long time about voter ID, and it hasn't dented the polls. In fact, the polls have gotten even stronger in favor of having a legal ID when you vote. So it hasn't worked. They continue to repeat this liar message. Now they're trying to do Jim Crow 2, which only rings bells for those people who went to college and learned about it. Jim Crow doesn't mean anything to most of Americans. They don't know what that is. It's not, their only hope is to just try to run out the clock on it. They can't win this debate. And it's clear that they can't, because they're still using this old message, which clearly hasn't worked for them. They don't have a message to beat this initiative, which is something I think more Republicans need to understand. They have nothing to lose, and they have nothing to sacrifice. There's nothing to risk in supporting this bill. And by the way, a lot of Democrats have nothing to risk in supporting the bill either, by the way. If they were smart and actually had people working for them instead of the DNC, which is a problem I talk about all the time, there would be a few Democrats voting for this bill too.
Well, John Fetterman's going to vote for it. He said he would.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to tell North Carolinians. Ted Budd's all in, but Tom Tillis, as we always suspected, is not. He doesn't want voter ID because, Tom, he's leaving the Senate and he might need a vote or two down here.
Well, he's just obstinate at this point. Anything that we want, he doesn't want, etc. We knew that.
Petulant child.
Yeah. So we knew that he was going to do the opposite. But will this pass? What do you guys think?
I think we know Susan Collins is not on board. She's already said she's a hard no. And if we can pick up a couple extra Democrats, and there are some moderate Democrats that may actually help us out, but we still have a few Republicans to go. What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
Well, if we get this to the talking filibuster, there will be some flips. Maybe not Susan Collins, but there'll be some flips, because this will be a very hard stone to carry for a number of days. And that's why getting this into a talking debate on the floor of the Senate is an important tactic here. It's a way of not nuking the filibuster and giving the Democrats that weapon for the future, and still getting this thing passed. I think we could get some flips on this, especially if the messaging gets better. President Trump needs to start calling out some of these senators and saying, why in the world aren't you doing what 80% of the country wants? And you can't, and because this is one of those great opportunities, they won't be able to say anything really substantial in saying why they're opposing it. Because like I said, the only argument against it is the same one they've been using for a long time, which is, oh, people won't be able to vote. They won't be able to get an ID, which nobody's buying. Nobody's buying.
People won't be able to get an ID.
Yes.
Well, the two Georgia senators should really put their money where their mouth is, because they're in the middle of some hot water. And if they wanted to prove there was no election fraud or anything going on, hanky-panky stuff in the election world, they would say, oh, we'll do this. But damn well, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff are not going to buy into this.
Well, this is the problem. Every Democrat, with the exception of John Fetterman, which they forgot to do this for him because they thought he was just brain damaged and didn't need to do it. Every Democrat of any office in this country is staffed up by people not loyal to that office holder. They are loyal to the DNC, which has become loyal to China and Qatar. That's another issue. But they're not loyal to them. There are so many Democrats in office all over the country whose poll numbers could be through the roof if they just did some things that were different from the party nationally. It would be a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for Kathy Hochul 3 or 4 years ago to reverse Andrew Cuomo's bail reform package. She didn't pass it. It was him. She had nothing to lose by going against it, and her poll numbers would have shot through the roof. Nobody told her to do that in her office. Oh, sorry. Nobody told her to do that in her office. And the reason is because the people don't work for them. I was with David Patterson. I did a radio show with David Patterson, who was governor of New York for a few years. Yeah. Nice guy.
Yep.
He's a liberal. He's a Democrat. But he told me when he was governor, he absolutely suspected that a number of the staffers were spies for the Democrat Party and also for the Chinese. And we know that Hochul actually did have a Chinese spy on her staff.
Yep.
So the answer, Margot and Sloan, is that there are a number of Democrats, and I know why Fetterman doesn't have a bunch of spies like that in his office. He has a few, because they felt like they didn't need it. They didn't think they would need to have a staff to work him over because they thought he was brain dead. Well, he recovered. He thinks for himself. But this is really important, this one, because he said the right things a number of times, but hasn't quite yet cast a vote on the right side when it's been between Democrats and Republicans. Looks like he might do that this time, and that's why this is much more valuable.
It's a big deal. And another big deal, speaking of New York, is there was a landmark case. This is important, you guys. A detransitioner, okay, won a $2 million settlement. It was found that she and her parents were manipulated by doctors. This is sick as hell. We've been telling you about this. It's happening here as well. The doctors are saying, look, parents, if you don't allow your child to affirm a different identity, they're going to kill themselves. You're going to be responsible. So
mutilate yourself. Don't forget the mutilation part.
Mutilate. You're right. Mutilate, castrate, etc. So I had an interview with Andrew B. Coleman. You might know him from Newsweek, and he's a columnist at New York Post. But we had an interview this weekend. He just came out with this documentary that kind of tells. Sorry, guys, I'm moving around things, but we had a great interview that went into the background. I encourage you to check him out and look this up, where he recorded a conference of doctors were there, counselors were there, talking about how they had been silenced and stifled and threatened and abused if they didn't go along and cut the penises off of children and the breasts off of children.
I made a big deal out about this last week. I made some videos about it and talked about it. A couple of details about this case, and it's not her real name, but this is a biological girl who at the age of 16 had a psychiatrist and a surgeon tell her that she should have this surgery. And they told her parents, the line that every parent has been told who's agreed to this, which is that if you don't allow this, they will commit suicide. By the way, we don't play that game. Talk about emotional blackmail. That should never be a reason that you do anything. Right. So here's what happened with that. She had her breast cut off. That's why the award in this case was only $2 million and change. If she had had the bottom surgery, we would be talking about the tens of millions of dollars. A couple of other things to remember about this case. First of all, I actually want this to be the linchpin for a major change in America for all of our healthcare, and just follow the progression here. First of all, this is, trans surgery and drug treatments have been banned in Europe for a long time. They're officially banned here too, because President Trump's tried to ban it, but that ban is not taken. A number of states aren't listening to him. Now, they've been banned in Europe for a long time. Is it because Europe is more conservative and religious? No, of course not. It's because there's no money in it.
They've been doing it longer. NHS, right? Yes.
Trans surgeries are expensive, but you have no idea.
Medicaid pays for them here, baby.
Well, it depends. It depends. But trans surgeries are a big cash cow for these hospitals, not only for the initial procedure, but for the rest of your life. Even if you don't have a terrible complication right during surgery, the complications for the rest of your life always happen. There are emergency rooms in certain parts of this country that have regular visitors from people suffering from trans surgery issues. It's a big cash cow for the hospitals. And hey, if you can get that cash cow in the system at age 16 as opposed to 26, why not? I mean, and there's an incredible conflict of interest involved here. Here on Long Island, there's a hospital system called Northwell, very large hospital system. They have a big counseling center for young people and gender dysmorphia. They also have a division in the other part of the hospital that does the surgeries. That's an incredible conflict of interest. What percentage of the kids who come in there with questions about their gender end up getting referred to for the surgery? I would say, what, 100%, 90%? You can't even do that in a brokerage. If I go to a brokerage house for my financial planning, they're not legally allowed to have me invest in the brokerage house's funds. There's a Chinese wall. But apparently, if I want to cut off my genitalia, there is no Chinese wall.
And who doesn't?
Don't forget, you can always use their pharmacies too, because you're going to have to keep going back.
Yeah, guys, I would like to see this used in a similar way by the Justice Department and however many attorneys general want to join in from all the states in a class action lawsuit against the hospital systems, just like we did to the tobacco companies. I want a tobacco lawsuit, these MFers, to the point where they are brought to their knees to the tune of billions of dollars for knowingly mutilating our children against all kinds of medical ethics, and have those new, and by the way, that plastic surgery group that just came out and said it's
Mhm.
wrong to do this to minors, have them as your star witnesses and get them to pay into a settlement just like the tobacco companies did, and see where that goes. And maybe that will also lead to the breaking up of the hospital monopolies in this country, which I consider to be one of our number one domestic crises in this country. The fact
I
that our
don't know.
healthcare is a monopoly.
Jake, I think the medical boards are just as bad.
Yeah, they
They're
really are. They really
horrible.
are.
We're going to be talking about that with one of the preeminent doctors talking about this, Dutch Roja. We're going to talk on Sunday about that. But check this out on the federal level. It's happening. I posted this an hour ago. The FTC targets this, shitty group, American Academy of Pediatrics, which is a sham group.
Good.
Which punished doctors for speaking out, has pushed these BS. Now, this is different from American College of Pediatrics, which, by the way, supported me and my work here when I exposed ECU, UNC, and Duke Med for targeting parents of 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And they deleted their websites because of it and sent me a group fatwa, basically, on the night that I did that, threatening, I don't know, to sue me. I recall telling them to go F themselves, and the rest is history, and we passed a law against it. But for the FTC to go in and, I guess, essentially investigate fraud, and they mentioned in this, you guys, WPATH, which is, you recall, is that fake sham organization also that had guidelines on how to do these surgeries. And they first said should not be done on minors. And then they erased that, probably because of what you're saying. There's money in it.
Yeah.
They should probably be tried and found guilty and put in a wood chipper. That's just me.
Yeah, well, we should, again, I really believe that they should follow the tobacco lawsuit playbook here. For those of you who remember, the first time that we started seeing court judgments against tobacco companies for people who had died of lung cancer or had contracted lung cancer and emphysema was the late 70s, early 80s. That was the first time we ever saw any of these kinds of judgments. It took another 13 years or so for the big tobacco settlement to happen. I think things will move much faster this time, especially since the precedent has been set. But if I'm Pam Bondi and there's a healthcare division, of the Justice Department, and if I'm a number of these attorneys general, if I'm the Tennessee Attorney General, if I'm some of these other attorneys general, I try to get into a class action lawsuit and shake these hospital systems down, but good, and get them real good for this, to the point where they have to break up because they don't have enough money anymore.
There go the donors to the Republican Party here.
Yeah. Well, both parties. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that is a threat to the Republic, we've been talking about this for a long time. We've had many former Muslims on this show who are now Christians, to talk about this. But Congress is taking this seriously. They're not playing. There was a meeting in the judiciary today on Sharia law and its threats. I'm going to play a couple of clips because, this is exactly, Margo, what Dan tells us every time he's on the show about Islam. First, I'm going to start it off with our Congressman, Mark Harris. I believe he's the only one on the 37-member anti-Sharia law caucus, but he has something happen in his own backyard. I'm going to play this.
Late 2025, the FBI
Damn it.
It's right
You
there.
know what? I have to tell you.
You're not AI.
We do these faux mistakes to show that we're not AI. Ready?
And with local law enforcement, arrested an 18-year-old in Mint Hill, North Carolina, who was plotting to carry out a deadly New Year's Eve attack in support of ISIS.
Yep.
According to the DOJ, this 18-year-old, Christian Sturdivant is his name, sought to become a martyr for ISIS. Mr. Spencer, I just want to give you a chance to share. Can you help me understand how a kid...
By the way, this is Richard Spencer that's going to be talking here. He's not the white nationalist Richard Spencer. He's a different one, right? He is the preeminent granddaddy of them all, along with a couple of others. When it comes to Islamic terrorism, he's a specialist, so he's going to go to him.
Growing up in a suburb of Charlotte, rural area in North Carolina, can be radicalized by the Islamic State.
Mr. Harris, this is a very important issue that law enforcement and intelligence agencies in the U.S. have been entirely remiss and have ignored altogether. Fact is that a young man like that in Mint Hill could easily go to numerous sites on the internet and quite possibly to people within his own community who would tell him that the Islamic State, ISIS, represents authentic Islam and that violence against unbelievers is a duty that he needed to carry out. This is something that ISIS recruiters say all over the world. They were able to attract thousands of Muslims from 100 different countries when they had their caliphate in Iraq and Syria. And this was because their claim to Islamic authenticity rang true among all too many Muslims.
Okay, but now, when you read the doctrine of Islam, it is in there. But they're finally talking about this. The pretext for it, I think the moving spirit behind this was Randy Fine and Chip Roy, who's been in this for a long time. Here's what Chip Roy said when he was rolling this out. This is 2 days ago when he was, they were premiering, if you will, this anti-Sharia law caucus.
And anybody who's actually paying attention to this and understands the intentions of the Muslim Brotherhood and follows and looks at the writings and what these folks are talking about, Dallas, Houston, Texas is ground zero. That's why Keith Self and I joined together to create this Sharia-Free Caucus, Sharia-Free America Caucus, because we understand that the root strength of this country is our Judeo-Christian principles and the values of Western civilization that have advanced the cause of liberty, freedom, and prosperity for people around the world. And our ancestors bled and died so that we could live in a country like this. And you can believe whatever you want, but you cannot engage in what is a political effort to Islamify the United States of America and not expect us to fight back and say no.
That's what I'm talking about. Love it.
Here I stand here I am on the presentation or the podcast with two people who are intimately familiar with New York. And the first thing that goes through my mind is they have brainwashed us to say the word Islamophobia. And here we are, over a decade later, 2 decades later, and look at us. We're having to fight it out of our country and put it out on the floor of the House to not have this take over. Insane.
I think it's important for the viewers, especially the ones who are devout Christians. And I don't know how many devout Jews are watching, maybe some of our relatives, I don't know.
I think my family is downstairs, but beyond that, in North Carolina, I think it's small.
Yeah. Let me make something clear here so that we can all understand, because I think all three of us would agree. We're talking about an ideology here. This isn't a racist or a racial DNA kind of thing. This is about an ideology that needs to be eradicated. 500 years ago, we talk about Islamists beheading and stuff like that. 500 years ago, in the Christian world, beheading was all the rage. They really liked it. They liked beheading. They liked it. It was like their fun thing to do. What stopped that kind of Christian supremacy, unable to live with other religions kind of thing? What stopped it was Christian groups started to turn a little bit against each other. That's why the United States of America exists. The pilgrims who wanted to observe their kind of Christianity were being persecuted in Great Britain, and they came to the United States. And that was the case with Catholics as well in the state of Maryland, but with the colony became the state, and on down the line. And suddenly, eventually, Christians all over the world started to realize that faith was the core of their belief system and not sovereignty, that they could be good Christians even if they weren't in control of the government, even if they weren't in control of the municipality, as long as they weren't being persecuted. Now, Jews learned that lesson 1,500 years earlier. As soon as the temple was destroyed and the last Jewish sovereignty until the state of Israel in 1948, Jews lived for 2,000 years understanding, figuring out a way to live in countries where we had no political power and control.
Assimilated, yes.
Muslims, now, and they took it a step further, which is the rabbis told every Jew 2,000 years ago, any country that you go to, the laws of that country are now equal to Jewish law and their importance. Yep. So you've got to follow those rules, which, by the way, is the key to Jewish success. Jews succeed not because we have better DNA and we're smarter or better, but because we have to assimilate and learn your laws and customs and your science and everything else that you're doing And by doing that, we become less closed off, and being closed off is the highway to poverty. Not being closed off is a highway to wealth and success and knowledge. Now,
coincidentally,
Islam,
the Christians have that same thing in their Bible, just so you know.
yeah. Now, Islam has no concept of this. They
Well,
don't have a concept of pluralism.
The foundation of law here in this country happens to be the Old Testament, right? I mean, so in the Ten Commandments. So, follow the 10 Commandments. We all believe that. Guess what? We're following 95% of the law in a given country. So it's all swell. Now the regulations, stuff like that, and it's different, but do you know what I mean? So
but Islam has not had a leader or a movement within Islam that similar to what happened to Christians starting 500 years ago and Jews starting 2,000 years ago, who says, look, these are the tenets of Islam. None of them require us running a government. None of them require us being the dictators. And we need to learn to live in countries where we are either the minority or we have no political power. But there's never been a leader like that. Even the leader of Indonesia, the religious leader of Indonesia, who was by far the most forward-thinking and best of all the Muslim leaders in the world. This is what we need more of. But even he doesn't really have a concept. I mean, he basically says, don't kill each other, so I'll take it. Believe me, that's a step forward. Good. But they don't have a concept of living in a society where they're not in control. And that needs to be explained to every American. We're not being racially mean to Muslims. They can practice their religion, but they need to be told that if you come to this country, we are a country that it doesn't believe in a theocracy. And you can't come to this country and decide you're going to take over our government because it isn't Muslim.
Well, this is a revealing clip. This is the last one I'll play. This is Chip Roy and Spencer.
Sharia law is central to most Muslims throughout the world.
Absolutely. Sharia is considered divine law, and thus it takes precedence over all other legal systems. In areas of the Muslim world where it is not fully implemented, such as Egypt or Syria, other countries, it still has a tremendous cultural influence, such that elements of it are often enforced by individuals or groups where the government doesn't do so.
Okay, so that he just said what you said.
Yeah, I mean,
you
just have to find that.
So they're doing a lot of that, and we're definitely exposing that. And I hope they do. One of the things they're doing is saying, look, if you follow Sharia law, you don't get to come in this country.
And there's plenty of Muslims in this country, especially the successful ones, who are okay with this. Earlier this week, at the end of last week, I talked about how Mayor Mamdani in New York City promoted this ridiculous lie about how Islam is a great example of understanding about open borders and welcoming people. It was the biggest lie in the world. If you're not Muslim, you can't go to Mecca. You can't go to Medina. I mean, if we follow the Muslim teachings on immigration, we would have even tighter borders than we do now. The man's a complete moron or a liar, although the two aren't mutually exclusive. I think he's kind of both. Okay. And one of my Muslim friends from grad school has remained a really good friend of mine. She happens to be a big Trump supporter. And I thought, and I saw that she commented, and I was like, oh no, she's going to be upset at me. And she said, good catch, Jake. This is our religious belief and our religious teaching, and this guy got it wrong. And it really offended me as a Muslim to say that Islam is in favor of open borders and open migration. So it's a complete lie. Muhammad went to Medina, and they welcomed him. And you know how he rewarded them? He said, kill everybody in Medina. That's what we want. That's the Muslim thing.
Who's cannot go to Gaza?
Yeah, right.
So not that I want to, but I can't do it, and not looking for that. So in fact, I got in an open fight last week with the Qatari diplomat here, the ambassador. We went back and forth. He invited me to come to Qatar. I'm like, nah,
no thanks.
I like my head on my body.
Yeah, Tucker's there. Just get a hold of him. We're not going there.
On his best day, he ain't me, though. They wanted him Sloan in Qatar. They're not going to get it. So, you know what? We've never talked about Epstein here. Never.
No, we haven't.
We're going to talk about it tonight because I think the leftists really got their butts burned today. Hold on. I'm going to remove this because it came out that Trump actually did say that not only is Epstein evil, but his evil female sidekick, which I don't understand what's going on there, but the evil female sidekick is also a problem. So he called the cops.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. This was an unsolicited phone call to the Palm Beach police, correct? I mean, I forgot it was the Palm Beach police or the sheriff's department. I can't remember whether it was the cops or the sheriff, but he called them to detail what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were up to and congratulate them. It wasn't like, oh, you guys don't know about it. He was calling them to say, hey, you guys are on the right track with this. 2 years later, Jeffrey Epstein was in jail, right? So it went pretty well considering. And look, it's so obvious. I mean, can we just not be so naive? If there was anything in the Epstein files that would have gotten Donald Trump in trouble, it would have been released when Biden was president or even when Obama was president, right? I mean, that's just, we know that, and it didn't happen. And sure enough, this comes out. I saw some people on social media trying to pretend that this report was phony and ginned up in 2019. Sorry, that's not true. It's a true report, and you're just going to have to eat it. There's a lot of things coming out of these files that have been embarrassing to everyone. And it pretty much gets everybody from a lot of different parties, but it's not getting Donald Trump. And let me tell you,
I just think it's so funny that it took the Epstein files coming out when the Miami Herald did a story on this, 15 years ago? And there's been film of that actual police chief coming out and talking about this, but the masses don't know it. It must be regional. Maybe it's, specifically to what your, subject is, but this has been around.
Yeah. And, it's amazing to me. But I got to tell you, my left-wing Democrat friends for a long time, starting about in December, were texting me about how any day now Donald Trump's going to get nailed by these Epstein. I mean, they have a great pumpkin problem. Remember the Charlie Brown Halloween special? They have believed in the great pumpkin coming to get Trump since 2015, and they still believe it. At some point, the hopium has got to run out on these people.
Well, the Clintons are knee deep in it. We've always known that. And a reprobate, a flea infested reprobate, otherwise known as Steve Bannon, is also, I mean, you're looking at the PR flack for Epstein. This is a fact. Now, I'm hesitate to put this up because I've gotten messages all day because I looked horrible back then, but I'm going to put it up. Yes, I have been on Bannon's show about 15 times, but I'm going to show you the evidence that it was a long time ago. Wait, that's not it.
That's not you. That's not you.
No, this is the reprobate, but here's another version of the reprobate that I'm going to put up there. Wait. Okay. Yes, I have been on his show. Okay. This is me. I'm not hiding anything. Everybody's accusing me of hiding. I'm not hiding anything. How was I supposed to know 5 years ago when I'm talking about Education First Alliance, which I did? How am I supposed to know then that somebody was with the Epstein, did this with Epstein when, do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people that had nothing to do with it. I mean, and are saying, oh, well, you were on his show. That doesn't mean jack squat.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's the whole retweet doesn't, agree. It doesn't mean endorsement. This whole Steve Bannon thing has been an interesting odyssey for me personally. I've had a soft spot in my heart for Steve Bannon for a long time. We were neighbors in Norfolk, Virginia. I was on Colonial Avenue and all that kind of stuff. And there's been a lot of members of my family and friends who have been really attacking me for a long time, saying, why don't you bash Steve Bannon? He says bad things about Netanyahu. He does. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm upset that he says these things, a lot of lies and things like that, but whatever. What can I say? The funny thing about it is that we were on the same channel and my show came on first. And I thought to myself, I get a full hour to say what I want to say, and he's got his time to say what he wants to say. And I don't agree with a lot of it. And that was that. But now, look, this is this man's brand. His brand has been, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to get to the bottom of things. We're going to get to the corruption. We're going to get to the real story. And the fact that he hasn't used that platform in all these weeks since this came out about his connections and the work that he did for Jeffrey Epstein is a bad sign. It wouldn't have hurt him a couple of weeks ago, I don't think, for him to come out and say something along the lines of, you know what? I got a little bit blinded by the power that I was getting as a consultant. I was definitely blinded by some of the money. I apologize. Now I think it's too late for him to say that.
He looks
should've said that.
creepy. He looks creepy.
Well, look.
Well,
Steve Bannon is the picture of Dorian Gray. You
It's
know that story,
cute.
the Dorian Gray who doesn't age and does all these horrible things, but his portrait ages and looks like a monster. Steve Bannon looks terrible. I don't understand why he allows himself to go on TV looking so awful. It's a bad sign. You know, it's kind of like rich people who have bad teeth. I've always said that's a big sign of mental illness. If you're poor and you have bad teeth, I'm giving you a pass. But like when you see like really wealthy people with like crappy teeth, that's like a big red flag for mental illness. That means that they're probably like on the Howard Hughes path. Anyway, he looks awful. He has enough money. Yeah, he has enough money to get a decent stylist and to get himself in a little bit better shape. And you know what? Sometimes that's a mirror to the soul. But all I got to say is, you know, when somebody accused me of crazy stuff, and unlike with him, there was no real evidence of it, I immediately came out with a video to explain what really happened.
Yes, he did.
Why doesn't this guy come out and at least come out with some kind of explanation?
Because he's guilty and he's just going to say the Jews did it.
Yeah, I guess. He hasn't even said that, though. I thought he was going to lean on that one, and he didn't. By the way, one of the things that's come out of their discussions is how anti-Semitic and anti-Israel Jeffrey Epstein was. Typical. You know, the greatest enemies. Some of the greatest enemies of the Jewish people have sprung from Jewish wombs. We've had traitors. We've had traitors within our people for a long time. It has a lot to do with the victimization of the Jews. And Jeffrey Epstein was a great enemy of the state of Israel, let alone not being an agent of Israel. He was a great enemy of Israel and the Jewish people, working with Ehud Barak, who was one of the greatest traitors to the people of Israel as well. So doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. You know, we've had a lot of enemies from within for thousands of years. Really, it's nothing new, but still ugly to see.
Well, the last one I'm going to put up here really hit me in the solar plexus. This guy, I've listened to his podcast for 4 years, Peter Attia. He is a celebrity, I guess you could say celebrity wellness doctor. Margot, I've told you about him.
Yeah.
A lot. I will go on these things. Well, this son of a bitch was basically, it looked like he knew a lot. Let me tell you about this guy. I mean, if you listen to Peter Attia, it's great. It's called The Drive podcast. He apparently was, when his wife lived in California, was visiting Epstein in New York. The emails suggest, they reveal that he was, the wife was saying, come home. Your 1 month old is in the ambulance. We're on the way to the hospital. He's like, I'm tied up here doing really important doctor shit. Can't make it. And he was with Epstein. So, all kinds of stuff about affairs, which is a personal issue, I guess. But, if you listen to him, he's all about, healthy state of mind, healthy connections. Well, let me tell you what, I think I may have a good lawsuit. Hear me out. This guy, well, first of all, I've been taking probably 30 different supplements for about 2 years. So now I realize a pervert has given me all this stuff. But it's fine. I'm fine. I got on this rucking kick. You know what that is?
No, doesn't sound good.
Because Scott Pressler does it too.
I've been bending her. Okay. So I started last March with a 12-pound vest.
Oh.
Listen, Jews are not big on outdoors. We're not. I don't enjoy it. I don't.
It's big in Israel. Everybody goes camping in Israel like 6 times a year. Come on.
American Jewish princesses were not big on that. So I went, okay, I want to do my hot yoga with it. Okay, so I started off with that. Listening to this dumbass's podcast. That's how I got started. Listening every day, etc. Then I went up to 35 pounds.
Oh.
Okay. I dropped 15 pounds from doing it. And I got addicted to it, going twice a day, sometimes for 70 minutes, uphill, whatever. I blew my hip out.
Oh.
After I had surgery. I wonder if because he's a pedophile and I didn't know it, and I was taking advice and I blew my hip out, if I have any sort of case. I don't know.
Well,
I'm sure you can find a lawyer.
This happened to you later. There was a big breakthrough today that one of my doctor friends from high school sent me. There's been this huge breakthrough in knee and hip replacement.
What, Stanford? Stanford. Yes, I did. I used to sell hip and knee replacements for a living. Yeah. So what it does, get this, Margot, it's a type of protein blocker that regenerates your cartilage as good as new, like a baby's.
Really?
ACLs too. Get this. My son blew out his ACL. So yesterday We both found out that we needed surgery, him on his knee, mine on my hip, because we blew out our knee and hip. But you're right. Here's my question. Will they make this available? Because it's.
Yeah. No, this isn't one of those like, oh, this new innovation is going to lose us a lot of money. This is going to bring in a lot of people who've been sitting on the sidelines just dealing with this pain and getting them into the door. My friend who texted this to me today said this is perfect timing for Gen Xers like me. That it's like, in the 10 years from now when we're going to need this, it's going to be pretty standard. He thinks it'll be pretty standard. I agree with him. If it were something like cardiac related, then I'd say maybe not. But this is one of those things where people try to live without the surgeries and get by, and this will get them in the door.
Oh yeah, I'm a big believer. The first thing I said is, when is it available, etc. But I think it's great, and yes, I appreciate you coming on. Look, we have primaries. They're starting on Thursday. It's been crazy around here, and look, we said on Tuesday, please send us your sample ballots. We'll help you out.
We're still working on it.
I called Margot. This is my actual thing. I said, I'm going to first kill you, then I'm going to kill myself.
Well, listen. Let me just say.
So many people on Facebook. We have 30 counties, probably within the first hour of our show, that want us to look at their ballot and vet their candidates.
And we're doing that. So listen, we're working with the North Carolina election integrity group, and they are still working to finish up. Yeah, Jim Womack's group. They're working to finish up a couple ballots for me. I've already given them the counties that we need. I've got Franklin's. I've got a couple more. I'm just waiting to get them all at once so I don't hear, what about me? What about me? So be patient. We are working on through that.
We love you guys, but we and this is what we're here for. But damn, give us just a minute.
Well, I'll save you some time. When it comes to voting in primaries, I follow the same rules as with card playing. I never play cards with the guy whose first name is a city, and never vote for someone whose first name is a city. So don't vote or play cards with anyone named Cincinnati Jack. It's a little hot tip there.
Okay, what other city? Brooklyn.
A lot
of Brooklyn. What city name?
St. Louis Sadie, Tokyo Rose. They're all bad. Don't vote for them, and don't play cards with them. That's my hot tip. So.
How about
Jake, thank you so much.
Jake, one thing. Would you vote for a guy named Bubba?
Oh yeah, I vote for a guy named Bubba, and I once did a PowerPoint presentation explaining the difference between Bubba and Bubby, which is Bubby is the Yiddish name for grandmother, and you never want to make a mistake and have Bubba is your starting quarterback or your starting defensive end and accidentally put your grandmother in the lineup. So those are important things. It's important to remember the differences there.
Differences of magnitude. All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Share this with 10 people. Make sure you make a plan to early vote. Make your plan now. All right.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.